What's up guys, welcome back to Hobbies Fishing. Xander here. And today we're going to do something a little different with the YouTube channel, with the Bassmaster Classic releases coming out. I wanted to kind of go through all the new releases that I can find and kind of talk through about what I think, which baits are going to be cool to look out for, kind of what trends I'm seeing in the bass fishing industry, and kind of give you some insight into some baits that you might want to try, or any kind of techniques that you see coming out of the Bassmaster Classics, and things that you might want to learn. So we're gonna jump onto the computer and kind of go through all of it. Lucky for us, Tackle Warehouse, not sponsored, has put together all the releases for the Bassmaster Classic releases for this year, 2025. So we're gonna go through them A to Z. I want to give you some of my input, kind of the trends that I'm seeing, and see what could be really cool for fishing this year in 2025. So going through the first, so these copperhead mini bladed jigs I've heard a lot about the copperhead bladed jigs, and I did learn after my Chatterbait video that Z-Man no longer has the sole copyright, the trademark I guess, to the Chatterbait, and they had the best version of the Chatterbait and how quickly it started up, which is really important for bass fishing with a Chatterbait. But I've heard a lot of people saying in my comments that these copperhead jigs are really cool. The big thing here is that it has these copper BBs in the head that give it a different sound than your normal jackhammer or even the Z-Man Chatterbait. So super excited. Great colors, kind of all around just like what you expect from a Chatterbait. And then 6th Sense has a flip gill, a buzz gill, and then a whopper plopper kind of bait. And I think this buzz gill is kind of interesting. So I do like fishing a topwater weightless paddle tail to use as a topwater buzzer, and this is like the Zoom horny toad. There's a soft plastic topwater that you use, but it comes in a fish shape, so could be really cool. Actually, some of these colors are already on back order, so looks like they're getting pretty popular. My biggest pet peeve when it comes to rods is, let me see if I can show you one that has it. I think, what's it called? Some of the rods, when you can see the thread of where you're supposed to, here, you can click on this one, if I can zoom that in. So you can see the thread right there of the rod handle where it locks down to your reel. It just drives me crazy. I just don't like how it looks. But this Arc Sniper rod looks pretty sick. Carbon blanks, all of this doesn't really mean much, quite honestly. It's a lot of marketing jargon, but 4 to 10 pound, medium light, 1/16 1/2 ounce, which is kind of interesting that it can take that much weight from a 16 ounce on a medium light rod is pretty interesting, because at a 1/2 ounce, you can't really fish 10-pound test line. Interesting. Seems like a decent rod for 200 bucks, and it gives you a pretty good range of weights that you can throw. Let's go back. Forward-facing line marketing, 100% marketing. I don't think it does anything. Is it braid? It's braid. It's a sinking braid, so it's just cheap braid essentially, or braid that has a solid core, which doesn't really do much. You don't need abrasion resistance if you're fishing forward sonar. So now we're trying to see some of this come out. Berkley has made one of these. A few Japanese companies had made these. These are, so they call it a forward-facing sonar jerkbait, but essentially what it is a jerkbait that fishes backwards. So instead of going down, it will go up. So it's a sinking bait, and then when you work that bait, it'll actually have that same jerkbait action, but it'll be moving upwards in the water column. So it's sinking, so you can keep it in the middle of that water column by letting it sink jerk, which is interesting. I think it could be useful for ponds if you're fishing from the bank. It doesn't necessarily have to be a forward-facing thing, but it lets you fish a jerkbait kind of quicker on the top of the water. You may get caught up on the bottom, but definitely a very boat-focused bait. Berkley has I've seen the pros fishing these. So some power bait max scent. Berkley does have good scented baits. Actually, I like the shape of these. I might try some of these out. Some good colors. They look kind of spongy, if that makes sense, but they look like those Berkley accent general worms. And then this is kind of the Zoom Speed Cross. So between these two, I think the biggest thing you're going to see is this will be more of a big thumping action, whereas these thinner ones give more of a tighter vibration, high pitch vibration versus a low pitch vibration. Kind of depends on what your fish are used to, right? I fish a lot of these high pitch craws because they imitate little bait fish better. That's why I like the Zoom Speed Cross so much. All right. And then, so it's more of those colors, forward facing. They got them in 100 size. Big Bite Bait, got a fighting frog. Bassmaster. What is Bassmaster? Never heard of Bassmaster. Minor is on the, yeah, so it's all for hover strolling. Everyone's making a hover stroll, mid stroll bait. That's just a paddle tail. They're all trying to copy the Miki armor shad at this point. But they do have a, oh, that's interesting, a jig head with a split ring on it. Honestly, I don't think it's that worth it. You're not trying to get an action where the bait is moving everywhere. It was a hover stroll. Really, the action you're looking for is a very specific left to right motion. You don't need that bait to be moving all around. You're not hover strolling. You're just shaking a worm at that point. Booger Man. What are these? Ooh, these look nice. The buzz baits look nice, but just another spinner bait. Booyah has a deep jerk point. So now, because everyone's fishing forward-facing sonar, and because sonar is based on sound, like a bat clicking its sound, and then it's reading that sound vibration coming back, they're making these baits, let me show you in a darker color, that have a piece of metal in the head, so that sound comes better, and you can see it better on forward-facing sonar. Suspending. Not really for us big anglers. Costa has some new glasses, which is great. I like these. I fish Costa sunglasses. They're really great quality. You can pop out the lenses and change them out. But when it does come to glasses, you also have to know the kind of like the lens reflection. So this color of the lens, it depends on the type of water you fish. So blue, this bluish color, this lighter bluish color is great for clear water, blue oceans, and then these darker reds, browns are much more for water that is dark red or brown. These yellow ones I'm seeing are getting more and more popular, at least in Asia. I wear the Spiros because I got a big head and a big face, and they fit my big face, but they're super comfy. Wear them everywhere. Ooh, Daiwa's got some new gear out. So this is interesting, the Kage. So Kage kind of was this brand that I have a few of the rods. It sits between the Tachula and then the Zillion. So it's Tachula, Kage, Zillion, and they just had a rod before. So it's kind of just little incremental price differences. But the Kage rod I really enjoyed the Kage rod. Let's see what they got. SV, so it has their stress-free versatile braking system, which is really great. They got hyperdrive, which is Daiwa's answer to Shimano's micro module gearing. So how fine the teeth are in the gear makes Shimano reels so smooth feeling. They're trying to do the same with that with the hyperdrive. Two bearing support system for pinion. That's like Shimano's SVS system. Bearings. Ooh, corrosion. So is this made for, so it's actually a saltwater. So it can be fished in saltwater, which is interesting because it's aluminum, so it won't rust as bad, but it's designed to be able to be fished in saltwater, which is cool. 1430, so it's 150 size reel. That's interesting. I think that's pretty cool. Reel looks pretty cool. It has the cork knobs. I like the cork knobs a lot. But they come in a 7-to-1 and 8-to-1 gear ratio. But it looks very much like the Zillion from the side here. They got a Tachula 200. Is that new? I thought they had a 200 Tachula. Well, it's what, $50 cheaper than that Kage? And the only difference, it has hyperdrive, it has digigear. Oh, it's a long cast model. So what that means is this spool is going to be extra deep for braid. So this reel is not going to be great for lighter lures. You're going to need heavier lures. But if you have like 3/8 ounce, half ounce size lure on that thing, you will be launching that bait. Interesting. Ooh, they've got a Steez travel rod, which is interesting. That thing is sick. 5-piece rod. And especially with the multi-piece rods, I love them. I fished them for a long time, especially in Korea where we don't have like a lot of space in our homes. The multi-pieces are great. Just make sure you buy them from a reputable brand like Megabass, Daiwa, Shimano makes really good ones because the connection points, depending on how they make them, really will make or break that rod, literally. So this is actually very interesting for $400. It's a little expensive, but they make a cheaper. No, that's the spinning. There's a 2-piece Tachula. These Tachula rods the Daiwa Tachula rods are actually really great for the money. I have a Kage one that I really like. Power scope casting rod, interesting. What does that mean? Shorter lengths. They're trying to make mid-strolling rods now, which is interesting in a casting model, which goes against it. They got a musky rod. Sweet. Some bags, some boxes. Oh, they got the Nepresso wallets. These are cute. These are for trout spoons. if you fish a lot of trout spoons. They're great for organizing. Now Damiki has come back with some new armor shads. These are just designed specifically for the Damiki rig heads and for that hover strolling. So when you're mid strolling, you're trying to keep the bait in the middle of the water column, constantly moving at a slow pace. Hover strolling is actually video game fishing, where you drop that bait down and you watch your graph and you can see that bait straight down. And you just shake it on top. Your line is going straight down the water. It's not moving. You're just sitting on top of the fish, which is what the Damiki rig is really good for, which is why it has this jig head shape, looks like that. It's because it helps balance that bait out. And then the armor shads are slightly buoyant, so it really helps that bait stay perfectly vertical. It's like ice fishing, essentially. Ooh, Dirty Jigs has got, I love Dirty Jigs. Their swim jigs are really good. I like their swim jigs a lot. Tactical Bassing works with them and makes some great colors, some great jigs. I like the compact, that's really cool. New spinner baits, mostly just all swim jigs. These guppy head jigs are great. They're a little expensive and you could just honestly just use a ball head jig, but they're really cute and they have good eyes and they look really nice on baits, especially if you match up the color to a paddle tail really nicely. I actually use one on the back of my little mini umbrella rig here, but you can see when you match up that bait really nicely, colors of the head to the bait, it looks really cool. It looks very nice, but the fish don't care about it. Evergreen's got some cool stuff. Ooh. So evergreen, so the big thing that fly fishermen are very good about that we aren't in bass fishing is fishing bug-shaped lures. I think this is going to be a huge trend, is seeing more people fish bug-shaped lures. This is so for a 1/0, so for a 1/0 hook, so super tiny, even on a jig head would probably be really good. Yeah, it's 1.8 inches, but just like if you fish really small ponds where you have a lot of bugs, and bass and tinier bass are really made for really eat a lot of bugs for their protein, especially if you're trying to get into bait finesse, these are probably really great. These look cute. How many did it come in a pack? Six for $12 is $13 for 6 of these is rough. That's $2 a bait, and it's not even like I don't know about that. That's really expensive, and it's not even a Z-Man plastisol thing. If you get a few fish on that, it's getting ripped up. Thank you, tariffs. Evergreen last ace. So these are kind of what Japan does, Asia does more with their paddle tails. We don't even use paddle tails anymore. We use baits like this that literally when you're reeling it in, it doesn't do anything. It's barely moving. It's very gentle rolling action on it. And in super clear water where bass are super finicky, it actually works really well. It's probably really good for hover strolling because they're saying that it's weighted on the bottom. So what Japan and Asian companies do really well is you see how they're laminated? It's not just color. That bottom part has more salt content than the top part. So actually most of this weight is in the bottom, which is really helpful when you're like hover strolling or just getting some action out of it. It's a nice little do-it-all kind of shape. Let's see, $12 for 4, $3 a bait. It could be also a really good Chatterbait trailer, but the problem is all these Japanese baits got so expensive. These are the same thing in different sizes. Gambler's got a new frog. Good frog. Trolling motors. Now here's the cool thing. I was just talking about the bugs and bait finesse stuff. So it looks like Great Lakes is doing some of that stuff. So we have another bug, a Helgramite, which is a mayfly that's hatching. I don't know, fly fishermen will correct me, but it's a type of fly. This is what they look like when they're babies and then they grow up into flies. That looks really nice for bait finesse. It's 2.4, so a little longer, and then a 2.5-inch juicy craw. Oh, it's a tube. Oh, it's a tube. I didn't see the tube. That's a tube craw. Interesting. I don't fish a tube that much. I just don't have a lot of confidence. These underspins look really good. Snack craw. What is that? High floating plastic, so it'll kind of sit up. It's probably great for a net if it's a high floating bait. Greenfish tackle skipping jig. HD chibi old school rubber. It's not old school rubber, it's just normal rubber. Oh, now this is fun. So Jackal's got some. Jackal, I think, has some really interesting baits. So if you've never fished a flick shake before, these are probably some of the best finesse worms in the world. They come in a 4.8 or 5.8, and they're very skinny, but they're really good on that Kaiser rig. So really light little jig head with wacky rig with a jig head, but you fish it on the bottom, just shaking that bait, and that little shake of the jig head will get the whole worm like squirming. Great little finesse presentation. But oh yeah, the flick shake, which is really cool. That's what I fish, the flick shake a lot in Korea. 9 for 7 baits, a little under $1 or around $1. probably after tax. And then you have the drift fry. So this is another mid-strolling, hover strolling bait, live scoping, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's going to it now. But Jackal has made it with these lips built in. So when you're fishing it, the lip itself is slowing the bait down, but also helping get that motion out of it. Kind of interesting. I've seen people try using it weightless and just like jerking it, and it gets a great action. Now, I don't know where mock baits came from. I don't trust it. They seem very expensive for no marketing. And then of course, Megabass had to come out with this baby Kingyo color, and everyone is freaking out about them because it's a very pretty color, and it's like a limited edition color apparently, and all the collectors went crazy, but they made a lot of them, so people were going crazy. The most important is this color. Matte Shad is killer. GP Pro Blue is great. And then if you fish darker water, I like the black shad a lot. And then do they have it? Oh, this is a cool color too, Maca Head. And then there's a color called, not that one, that looks good too. Oh, Matte Deadly Black is what I like a lot in darker color. Matte Perch, especially Massachusetts. We have a lot of perch. Oh, it's not in here. There's a color that they sell here in Massachusetts or New England called Northern Secret. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Color, if you fish crystal clear water, like in north, so like New area, like in this Northern Secret color is a killer bait on smallmouth and largemouth. I don't know what it is. The lake that I fished was like 20-foot visibility. Fishing a jerkbait, bass would go crazy for this color. I love it. And it's really designed for clear water. It's like kind of clear, but has a little bit of color on top. So you really need some good clear with that to work well. Oh, Missile Jig Eye. Missile is making more rolling baits. Net Baits is making more hover strolling baits, of course. Nichols. Oh, a flaked blade. I don't know if that's gonna work. I saw this. This is very exciting. So Nomad Design has made these soft plastics that are like elastomer. Has the bait chamber, so you can kind of see these little balls inside. So you put, yeah. So they give you a tube, and then you literally drop a ball, a metal ball, into those slots, and you can put them wherever you want. So it'll change the like how it's weighted, and then how you get the action out of it. Like these are designed for like what's it called, when you're like working it, it's supposed to like, it's like jerkbait essentially, right? But then you can change it. It floats on its own, and then if you put weights in it, it kind of out. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's a durable plastic, so it's something that you can like, you buy once and you fish for a long time. Is it just one a pack for, is it one for $14? Oh, one for $14. You're essentially buying a jerkbait. Huh. So you're gonna buy a jerkbait, a Megabass jerkbait, or one of these. Oh, and this came out. So the guy that's the man himself that's been winning all the tournaments, Taku Iru, and then everyone was seeing him season his baits, and everyone didn't know what it was for a while, but it's finally out. So this powder, so he soaks his bait in fish attractant, like shrimp scent, for like months, like 3 months at a time, in like big boxes. And then before he fishes them, he puts them back in the bag and then adds the powder and shakes them, so like they're smelly, which is very interesting. But yeah, they put it out, which is cool. So yeah, season your baits, I guess. Pen's got some new stuff. Picasso, oh, they've got the tungsten Nikos with the screw heads. These are okay. I just feel like I would lose them a lot. I feel like they get ripped out. I don't like spring locks on my jig heads. They're just a pain. Weighted ball jig head, which is interesting. You need the right plastic, or you're just gonna split them open. Oh, what is this from Plano? This looks cute. Little tackle bag. Oh, I like that. That's really nice. Cute accessories. More Power Pro Super 8 Slick. The thing that I don't like about braid that they call Super Slick is that they put like a coating on it, which actually kind of decreases your ability to tie knots, especially like leader knots. You'll find that the line wants to stretch out, which isn't ideal. Frogs. Ooh, the new Shimano Antares. I really want get my hands on one of these. Look at that thing. Oh, it's so sick. Absolute spaceship of a reel. They got Tranks, new twin power, Shimano Outlier. Is this like a swim bait rod? It looks like it. Yeah, swim fishing. Interesting. Altegra, the new Altegra. Now I wanted to try this new Shimano glide bait. What is it? Sinking or floating? Slow sinking. I don't like that. But it does have Shimano's flash boots, which is cool. Like my favorite jerkbaits recently has been these. Yeah, so you can really tell from the photos, but this portion here, when you work that bait, when it moves, it's a little metal plate that's on springs, so it'll keep moving. Even once you kill the action, it'll keep moving inside of the bait, and like it'll give off really subtle flashes, and jerkbait, like bass, will kill this thing because it looks like a bait fish that just stopped moving, but it's still like its gills are moving and like giving off a little bit of flash. But I definitely like it for the jerkbaits. The world divers and the world minnows are really great. The Spro's got some new stuff now. Now that Z-Man doesn't have their rights anymore, everyone's making their bladed jigs like they are. Was how Z-Man made it, was the clip to the head. This is interesting. So these swim baits that have these diagonal cuts have been kind of popular in Japan. They just get a nice like snaking action out of them. And then here's a thing that I saw that I was very interested in. So Strike King got smart that everyone's winning on these dice, and Strike King's got to make a dice now. Everyone's got to make a dice. So now they have this dice, just like the dice that OSP made, but they make them in the salted version, which will sink, and then the floating version, which will float. And the difference is that this one has salt in it, and this one doesn't, and it'll float more. And it kind of gives you, generally, the salted version's really the only thing that is really good for. Oh my god, they're all in back order. I was pre-order. The only thing that the salted ones are good for is fishing weightless on a little jig, like on a little wacky hook, and sight fishing it to fish, because you can get it to them really quietly and it'll just sink in front of their face. The floating version is actually, I think, more useful, because on a drop shot that bait will float on itself. And I just did a video about dice lures. I make like a modified Jika rig with a clip, with a drop shot sinker, and then the bait. And if you use a floating bait on a light enough wacky rig hook, that bait will float. Like when you dead stick that bait and not move it, it'll float up like a Ned rig, and it'll kind of be like, you know, like those like when you go carp fishing, they have those hooks with the bait that's floating in it. It's like one of those, and then the bass can come and just pick it up. But everyone's got to make a dice now. I don't know if Strike King's too late or not. Ugly Stick's got some new stuff. You can't break Ugly Stick. I saw this earlier. The Zaco Slim. The Zaco is one of my favorite Chatterbait trailers. I've almost never fished it on like a rig or like a head and just used it. Maybe a scrounger head might be good for that, but I've pretty much only used it for a Chatterbait trailer, and it's like, I love it as a Chatterbait trailer. Oh, Yum's got some new stuff. So new fat body craw, a brush hog looking deal, a salt craw, and then some kind of beaver creature looking thing. And then of course everyone's talking about these two chatterbaits. The baby jack. So I've been seeing, see how the reviews aren't that good? I've been seeing that the reviews on the baby jack weren't as good. Like they don't get that same jackhammer, like as soon as you start turning the reel handle, it gets moving. But Z-Man made the Evo Mini Max, which is a tungsten head and smaller. And also Z-Man has much more interesting colors. They make a lot of colors that are pretty cool. I heard the Z-Man one is much better. The Evo stuff, I think the Evo Chatterbaits that Z-Man made really bridged the gap between the normal Z-Man stuff to the jackhammer. But yeah, I would get the Evo Mini Max, I think, over the Baby Jack, because even that Mini Max, the normal Z-Man Chatterbait Mini Max was great. But that's going to do it for all the new releases on the Bassmaster Classics for 2025. If there's any baits that I missed, I may have missed a few because I was just going through Tackle Warehouse, so leave them in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe. And I'm happy to talk about any baits with you guys in the comments below. But thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you always for the support you guys give me. And hopefully soon we'll be doing more fishing videos, as I'm constantly, perpetually promising. But what are you waiting for? Get out there.